Welcome back to Black Cat Crypto Club, and welcome to the first weekly Friday rundown. I will be doing my best to make these videos every Friday going forward. So if you aren't able to watch any of my other videos throughout the week, you'll want to make sure that you catch these Friday rundowns to get a good sense of what's really happening in crypto generally throughout the week. So I've got a ton of good stuff for you guys. Some things I didn't even cover in my videos this week. So make sure you hang out. You're not gonna want to miss this video. But before we get to all of that, guys, as you guys know, I do every month. I have a different animal sanctuary that I bring to you guys in hopes that I can raise a bit of support for these guys. This month for December, it is Stevens Forever Farm Sanctuary here. This is their Instagram. They've also got a Facebook. So guys, these are just small sanctuaries that really any amount of money really goes to help these guys out. So if you guys have a few bucks that you can spare, you want to do something for yourself as far as taxes, these guys are a nonprofit, so anything you donate to them also helps you guys out. So as you guys know, in the description of all of my videos this month for December, we'll have all of the information that you need for this sanctuary. So I believe they have Cash App. They've got a bonfire that you can buy merch off. They've got PayPal, Venmo, all of that good stuff. So guys, if you have anything to give, please just consider going over and giving a small amount to these guys. Always appreciated on my end. Okay, so the first thing that I want to touch on is some U.S. foreign relations stuff that's been kind of brewing. About a week ago, Trump made a threat to the BRICS nations, China, Russia, Brazil, all of the BRICS nations, and their attempt to reduce their reliance on the US dollar.
President-elect Trump is vowing to impose 100% tariffs on BRICS nations unless they commit to not developing a new currency. Trump made the declaration in a Truth Social post Saturday saying, quote, "There is no chance that the BRICS will replace the U.S. dollar in international trade, and any country that tries should wave goodbye to America."
Now, this isn't that surprising. I personally have been saying for about 2 years now, when I first heard of BRICS and their de-dollarization efforts, that there was no way that the U.S. would sit by and let this happen without a fight. I even speculated, if you guys have been watching me for a while, that the war and instability in the Middle East over the last year has been an attempt to lure the BRICS nations into a physical war. Even despite Biden coming out and downplaying the de-dollarization efforts. He claimed that any country can freely and without consequence use whatever currency that they choose, that it's not our place to really tell them what currency they should use. But within a few days of Trump making these threats, Vladimir Putin responded saying that the U.S. has weaponized the dollar. We all know that the U.S. has weaponized the dollar through sanctions against anyone doing anything that we don't like. And it's been a successful tactic because there hasn't really been any other option for these countries. You know, the US dollar is the world reserve currency. So it's been a successful tactic, but it's no wonder that so many countries want to de-dollarize and gain a bit of their financial independence back. But what is particularly interesting about Putin's statement is what he had to say about Bitcoin.
Биткоин кто может запретить? Никто. А использование других электронных средств расчета кто может запретить? Никто, потому что это новые технологии. И чего бы ни было, чего бы ни происходило с долларом, эти инструменты так или иначе будут развиваться, потому что все будут стремиться к тому, чтобы снижать издержки и повышать надежность.
Now, this comes from the Russian president that he himself tried his best to stop Bitcoin in Russia and failed. So, what we're seeing here is yet another one of the most powerful people in the world flipping on Bitcoin, seeing that there's value there, seeing that the network is truly immutable and unstoppable. Also of note in from another BRICS member, China, I want to take you over to this article here. A few weeks ago, a Shanghai court says crypto ownership is legal under China law. The article says a Shanghai court has released an opinion stating that the personal ownership of cryptocurrencies is not against Chinese law, offering explicit legal clarity for crypto holders on the mainland. Now, you'll remember the reason this is such huge news is that this now opens up the entire mainland of China to the investment opportunity of the Hong Kong Bitcoin ETFs. I cannot tell you how huge of news this is. You know, the price did surge when this was happening, but we are nowhere near priced in for this kind of thing. Another powerful person seeming to flip on some of the previous things he has said about Bitcoin is Fed Chair Jerome Powell himself.
I don't think that's how people think about it. I mean, it's so, people use Bitcoin as a speculative asset, right? It's like gold. It's just like gold, only it's virtual. It's digital.
So Jerome Powell thinks Bitcoin is digital gold now, despite comments he's made in the past. He went on in this interview and continued to say that Bitcoin was not a competitor of the dollar. So maybe he's kind of half flipped. Kind of leaves him in a weird position where he's likely to fall on his head. Please, Jerry, just be careful. You got to flip faster, man, if you don't want to break your neck, dude. All right. So this week we saw a few inflation measures come in. Wednesday, we had CPI that came in slightly higher than last month, but right in line with expectations, what was expected. And yesterday, we had PPI numbers coming in slightly hotter than both the expectations and last month's numbers. So inflation is slightly ticking up now, guys. And this could be a seasonality thing with people spending for the holidays. But regardless, these numbers coming out didn't have the effect that I thought it might on the expectation of a rate cut this month. It only solidified the expectation that we'll be getting a 25 basis point rate cut next Wednesday after the FOMC meeting. I'm going to take you over to the Fed Watch tool, and you can see that it is nearly 100% that we will be getting a rate cut. We're actually sitting at 96.7% of getting that rate cut on Wednesday. So it'll be interesting, to see what comes of this, but it's looking really, really good that we'll be getting a rate cut and more liquidity into the market come Wednesday. Another interesting bit of news this week is that Riot Platforms, a publicly traded Bitcoin mining company, is now implementing the Bitcoin strategy that Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy have championed. If you guys remember earlier this year, Mara, another publicly traded Bitcoin mining company, surprised everybody, especially me. I was taken back by this. But they started not only not selling what they mined, but also raising money to buy additional money, or additional Bitcoin, excuse me. So this week, Riot Platforms fell in line and did the same. They raised $525 million to buy additional Bitcoin on top of not selling their own. So if you think that, if you kind of sit back and think about this, miners are typically one of the biggest over-the-counter sellers. They're who supply the OTC counters. Now we have two major mining companies that are not only refusing to sell what they have, what they're mining, but they're actively raising money to buy Bitcoin. So the big question here is, where are all of the Bitcoin ETF providers going to find enough Bitcoin to buy over the counter? The over the counter supply is diminishing and diminishing, and these miners are starting to refuse to sell their Bitcoin. To me, this seems like an obvious setup to a major supply shock and an inevitable price appreciation of Bitcoin. We are going to have that supply shock. Not only that, but it is right in timing with the 4-year cycle, that 6 to 8 months after the halving, that now the supply is being cut in half already, guys. So big news there as well. As far as the Bitcoin price went this week, we mainly traded sideways. This wasn't to say that we didn't have a few days of major volatility. One day we dropped over 4,000 in less than a minute, down below 92,000. I do want to take you over to a few more articles here. So this was that dip I was telling you about. And that day we saw $1 billion worth of liquidations in that day alone. We actually fell over $4,000 in less than a minute that day. On no news at all, a little bit of low volatility, and market makers and big money were able to just steal a bunch of leveraged plays. Okay, so interestingly enough, a few days later, we saw a much less severe dip, down to about 94,000. And yet that day we had $1.6 billion worth of liquidations that day. So not as much downside that day, but even more liquidations. And yet we continue to see people using high leverage at these levels. Yesterday, we saw a decent dip as well that liquidated a bunch of longs. I'm going to jump over to the heat map and you can see exactly that here. We dropped down right here pretty quick, and you can just see all of these leveraged longs that just got wiped out. Now, as of this recording, we have a lot more leverage down here that we could dip down to and liquidate those as well. So I'm not saying that that's necessarily going to happen. Now, I wouldn't bet on this. I wouldn't trade Bitcoin based on the possibility of dipping down to these levels to liquidate them. But it's just kind of disheartening to see so much leverage being used right now. It really goes to show, how the ups and downs work during these parabolic moves. Bitcoin will jump up quickly and people will get over leveraged, just like we've seen. We jumped up from 68 or 69 all the way to 104,000 in basically no time. And now we have all of these people just piling in these leveraged plays. But whenever we get all this leverage in the market, we get over leveraged and the price will dump because market makers and big money just see that leverage as free money that they can steal away from people. So the moral of the story here, and I know I harp on this all the time, but it's just do not get overly greedy and lose your money playing with leveraged bets. It's absolutely the antithesis of Bitcoin to just play stupid and give your money and your Bitcoin over to big money. These big whales and these markets. Just you should not be giving that over so easily. So just guys, don't do it. Okay, the last bit of news that I have for you this week comes from Eleanor Tourette. I'm going to take you over to this article. She is a fairly respected journalist in the crypto space. She reported that the SEC is set to reject applications in line for spot Solana ETFs. She went on to say, quote, the consensus here, I'm told, is that the SEC won't entertain any new crypto ETFs under the current administration. Now, this makes me laugh, guys. This isn't a huge surprise as far as the current SEC rejecting Solana ETFs. I don't think anybody expected Gary Gensler to approve a Solana ETF. However, what's to note here is, again, that despite the Democratic Party claiming that there would be a peaceful transition to power to the new Trump administration, the Biden administration and regulators under their administration continue to undermine things whenever they can. I mean, it's literally the job of the SEC to entertain applications that they receive. So when they say they're not going to do that, what they're essentially saying is that they're not going to do their job. And if people didn't know that there was a new SEC administration about to be appointed, believe me, people would be suing the SEC over this. It's just backhanded and petty behavior. Now, guys, admittedly, they said they were going to do a peaceful transition. And admittedly, the Democrats aren't organizing a riot at the Capitol, at least not yet, maybe. So they're not at that level of hostility. But it reminds me of when Al Gore lost to George Bush in 2000. And the Democratic Party was so petty that they stole all of the W's off of the keyboards in the White House. So essentially nobody could type George W. Bush. Which, hey, guys, I mean, honestly, what else do we expect from politicians? It's like a bunch of toddlers tantruming because somebody else has the toy that they want to play with. I mean, politicians just grow up. All right, so next week, Wednesday, actually, is possibly the biggest day to watch with the FOMC meeting and rate cuts. That's when we'll get all of that news and, likely that rate cut. Like I said, we're almost 100% likely to get that rate cut on Wednesday. But even the slightest verbiage from Jerome Powell during his news conference could sway the markets. So Wednesday should be interesting. The few days leading up to the FOMC meeting is always interesting. The markets seem to always kind of get jittery on those, those few days before. So we'll have to kind of watch and see what happens there. And that's about it, guys. I really appreciate all of you guys tuning in and lending me your ear. Again, if there's anything that you guys want to hear about, from me, what you want to, if you want me to cover anything and go over anything on the channel, let me know in the comments. Hopefully, guys, this Friday weekly rundown was helpful to you guys. Had some information that you guys thought was helpful. If so, please make sure and hit the like button. Where's my like and subscribe? There we go. So yeah, please hit the like and subscribe if you can. And I really look forward to doing more of these weekly rundowns. It does take a lot of work getting, the production of all of these videos lined up and all of this gotten into one video. But I really do look forward to doing more of these weekly rundowns for you guys in the future. So until next episode, guys, stay strong and stick with your plan.